98% of the things that we do in our lives, we do it not for somebody else, but to prove ourselves. Every act that we are doing it to prove our existence without realizing that there's no other.
Gaurav Arora will take us through building executive presence. Gaurav will unlock the secrets to cultivating powerful presence. Gaurav is a master certified coach with over 8,000 hours of coaching experience, known for his deep, impactful work with CXOs and senior leaders across McKinsey, BCG, Google's SAP, Tata Group, Mahindra, and many more. As a founder of X-Monks and host of the widely respected podcast, The X-Monks Drive, Gaurav brings together global thinkers to explore leadership, purpose, and transformation. Also one of the main sponsors for the day. Honored with the ICF Young Leaders Award, he's also a faculty member with Ericsson Coaching International and a pioneer in bringing powerful leadership tools like the Leadership Circle to India. For my brief chat with him yesterday, I just got to speak to him and learned that he was a privileged person to start off with learning with the prestigious Covey Institute. Gaurav also brings in a unique blend of coaching, storytelling, and facilitation that helps leaders break barriers and lead with clarity, authenticity, and presence. Let's give a big round of applause to Gaurav Arora.
All right, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Such a pleasure when I get this kind of applauses. When I have to come on stage, I'm really fearful because I personally call all these clappings and adulations as the steroid on ego. And I make sure that I don't get stuck because that's what I talk about. An absolute pleasure listening to you, Pradeep. I loved everything that you mentioned. My name is Gaurav. I've been in the space of coaching for almost like 20 years. I used to work for an organization called Franklin Covey, and that's where I got introduced to the whole world of coaching. 2005 and 6 I'm talking about, and least did I expect that one day, after 20 years, I'll be eating, breathing, inhaling, sleeping, drinking, coaching, and coaching. I remember when people used to ask me what coaching is all about. Is it related to GMAT? Is it related to IIT? Is it related to any of those exams? It used to take me a long time to introduce the whole concept of coaching. My dad is not there in the physical form today, but if you would have asked him, what does your son do? Till the last day, he would not have an answer. He said, something he does. He's been able to earn well. Yesterday, while I was listening to this conversation, somebody said, for as long as your children are earning reasonably okay, your parents stop to ask you what you do. And I was talking on the same context I was talking to someone. A friend of mine gave a beautiful perspective. Your parents are least interested in whether you're doing something that you're passionate about or you're not. What they are definitely committed is about that you should not die poor. They just want you to do something phenomenal where your heart is into, that makes your soul dance. And that's what we are going to talk about. I told you, right, 20 years back, I got introduced to the world of coaching, and least did I expect that after 20 years, I would still call myself as an evangelist of coaching, because that's what I called myself 20 years back. In all this journey, in these 20 years, universe was extremely kind to me to give me all the credentials that a coach would expect for, all the awards that a coach would expect for, but something that I have kept closer to my heart is not those credentials. I told you, right? I would allow all the applause to go away, and then I would step into, because I don't want to be on the recipient side of steroids on ego on steroids. I'm on a mission to make India the coaching capital of the world, and that's a huge claim to make. 20 years back, when we brought in 14 people in the room, I was sitting in one of the corners and serving water to those people, serving those pamphlets to those people. And I used to tell them that coaching is really powerful, it's really beautiful, it's profound in true sense. And people would ask me why. Would it help me to become a better manager? Easy. Would it help me to become a better leader? Even easier. The ironical part is the term leadership and leader is overrated. And what is underrated is being human. So in the next 45, 50 minutes that we have, My invitation to you would be, don't even look at how are these concepts going to assist you to become a better leader. I promise you'll become a better leader anyways. That's how life has been designed for all of us. My invitation to you is, whatever we are going to talk about here in the next 45, 50 minutes, can you apply that with your son, daughter, niece, or your nephew? How many of you have got son, daughter, niece, or your nephew? Beautiful. So here's an invitation and a very respectful challenge. Go apply these principles that we are going to talk about with your son, daughter, niece, or your nephew. In case you cannot apply there, even if you apply it with your team members, that's only feeding into your ego. Parenting for me is the most difficult leadership lesson that you can learn. Go and ask your parent, they will tell you, your dad will tell you that, you know what, I've been a winner in my life and I've lost only one battle. That's with you. They will tell you this, I promise you. My dad used to tell me that, Gaurav, you know what? The whole world respects me like nobody's business. The only time I have to shut myself off is when I'm talking to you. Not because I don't have an argument, but because I don't want to say something that's going to hurt you. Think about that. When was the last time you lost a battle with anybody else vis-a-vis the battles that you have lost with your children? Think about that. And for that, what I've done is, there's a deck of cards that we have just created for you. This is known as mindfulness parenting. If you can apply these principles with your son, daughter, niece, or your nephew, I promise you you'll be able to apply the same principles with your stakeholders, be it your manager, leader, team members, customers, or any other stakeholder that you're dealing with. Think about that. There's a set of beautiful cards, and all those cards are questions. There are questions well drafted, written. I personally believe the quality of your life is determined by the quality of questions that you ask, either from yourself or from the other person. We call ourselves ex-monks. X stands for the warrior monk. Guru Gobind Singh Ji coined this term called Sant Sipahi, when he said that it's important to pull the sword, not for yourself, to pull the sword in service of others. And that's what warrior monks are all about. It's a beautiful combination where you bring in the traits, the aggression of a warrior, and the calmness, the stillness, the poise of a monk. Because only in silence you can breathe in creativity. Only in that stillness you can come up with an idea that can actually disrupt the world. The interesting part is, whatever I'm sharing with you right now, I've learned it from the masters. I host a podcast called Ex Monks Drive, and on that podcast, I've got the privilege of interviewing few of the most insightful leaders of our times, people who are running organizations, to entrepreneurs, to para-athletes, to people, the veterans from army. Last week, I was sitting with a Paramveer Chakra guy. We believe our lives are difficult, don't we? We believe we have got so many challenges in our lives, and life has been unfair to us. Listen to that conversation with Paramveer Chakra Yogendra Singh Yadav, and you will get to know that how you have to survive, not for yourself, not for your family, but for the team that you are a part of, when you have been shot with 17 bullets. 1-7. And I have taken a leave from my office because last day, a day prior to that, I just cut myself while cutting an apple on my palm, and I took a 2-day leave. Really? So it's all about what you are committed to. And I am going to share certain lessons that I've learned from all these masters. You know, during the conversation, I realized this gentleman, the veteran Paramveer Chakra guy, and I are more or less of the same age. And while I was listening to me, I had goosebumps. I had tears rolling down my cheek. I said, can we just stop the podcast for a while? I stopped the podcast. I went down. I touched his feet. First time in my life, I came across a Sant Sipahi. First time, because if you listen to what he had to say, he was talking as if he's sitting for hours and hours together in a meditative form. But every single word that he was using was nothing less than the wisdom from a warrior. I mean, Sakshat, a warrior monk sitting in front of you. What would you ask? Would we ask, well, what kind of a mindset did you have? Of course, I asked all those silly questions. And then later on, I realized that I was asking those questions not from a space of curiosity. I wanted to prove that how smart an interviewer I am. And in those moments, the penny drops when you realize that 98% of the things that we do in our lives, we do it not for somebody else, but to prove ourselves, ironically, to ourselves. How much time would we take to prove ourselves to ourselves? Such an ironical, shitty space that we are into, because every act that we are doing it to prove our existence without realizing that there's no other. During the journey, I loved it. I was talking to Asif. Asif asked me, what does it take to be really successful? I told him that, no, what, if you ask me, it's 80% of the people will tell you that I personally believe 80% of the people who are really successful in their lives, they just got lucky. He said, 80%. I said, I'm just being mindful because this is the first conversation. Otherwise, I would have said 99%. And the moment I said 99%, Pradeep said it exactly that. I've been lucky in my life. If it's sheer luck, then why do we need to take so much of pride in saying that I've done this, 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 this? Where is the need to tell that? Why can't we just offer ourselves to the universal big plan that we have and just align ourselves with the basic principles? And I call them the leadership trifecta, leaders trifecta. What are those important, necessary ingredients that you can definitely bring together as an offer to the universe that you're a part of? So, whatever I'm going to talk about today, I'm no way going to talk about what all you need to do, because all of you are doing hard work more than it's required, let me tell you. It's time to revisit and offer yourself to the divine operational theater and the operation table. Just put yourself and just make a request to the Lord. Lord, I'm here. Give me an opportunity. Give me the direction that I cannot unsee. And please operate on me. Because I've been holding on to the conditioning for so many years, not only the conditioning, the damage that I've done to myself, but the damage that the society has done to me as well. It's time to offer ourselves on that operation theater. As a part of that, I just got lucky when we got to partner with 4 different organizations in the country. I'm sure Mudit is aware of that. Pradeep must be aware of all these organizations for the benefit of all the other people. We are partners to 4 international companies in India, and all 4 of them, they just happen to me. They just happen to me. Do I have the qualification to claim that I am entitled to be their partners? My answer is no. It just happened to me. We are partners to Ericsson Coaching International, and we are the largest coach training companies in the country. Not only in the country, but worldwide as well. We have trained the maximum number of coaches worldwide. We are partners to Dan Newby, who happens to be a very dear friend, an authority when it comes to emotion-centered coaching. And then David Clutterbuck, who's like a personal friend to me. When he comes to India, he stays with me. How did that happen? Do I have the qualification? The answer is, if you ask me, do you have a logical reasoning? How come all these good things are happening to you? I cannot give you the code. It's just grace. It happened. I'll talk more about that, and in fact, there is a magazine that you would have received, and there's a one-pager that you would have received that talks about the kind of work that we are doing. So let's take one step forward. While listening to Pradeep, I thought he has already stolen my presentation. I said, how come he's speaking the same language? I need to meet this gentleman. One of the favorite quotes that I have as a coach, let's try and understand, what does a coach do? Who would like to share? What does a coach do? Structured way guide, what else? Help discover your blind spots. Mindset, reading, you said? Training, okay?
Yeah, so coach helped you to bring out your own potential.
Bring out your own potential. Okay, let's hear from this lady as well. Yes, ma'am.
About what you want to do, I mean, in that direction.
Got it. You know, the way I define coaching, and I've come across some thousands of definition. You know, there's nothing else that I do. I do only coaching, coaching, and coaching. Either I'm training people to become coaches, or I'm coaching people one-on-one. You know, a coach is like a flute. So there's a conversation that's happening between all the gopis and a flute. And gopis were jealous of that flute. Said, how come Krishna keeps you so much close to you, and he does not even look at us when we just love Krishna so much? Flute, being a flute, did not say anything. Now further agitated and irritated, why don't you answer us? What do you think of yourself? What do you think? What do you do that we are not doing, that Krishna is keeping you so much close to yourself? In fact, he kisses you. Flute smiled for a while. He said, you know what, every time when I'm in the presence of Krishna, I just find myself hollow and empty. I just offer myself to Krishna. And then the Krishna picks me up, blows, and listens to his own music. And I don't have to do anything. For me, that's a coach. A coach is somebody who can expand your perspective and diffuse your ego. I shall repeat myself. A coach is someone who can expand your perspective and diffuse your ego. Just imagine the combination. It's a lethal combination. Somebody who's just expanding your perspective moment by moment and diffusing your ego. It's a beautiful conversation, isn't it? Just imagine the conversation that Krishna had with Arjuna on that battlefield. Moment by moment, he was expanding Arjuna's perspective, at the same time diffusing his ego. Don't think that's happening because of you. It happened because you had Hanumanji with you. Really? But I did that. Of course, things happened through you. But what should I do now? So a coach further expands your perspective, at the same time diffusing your ego. It's a lethal combination. So how does a coach do that? And that's where I would love to share this quote with you. It says, wheresoever patterns are found, there are complexes at work. Wherever there are patterns are found, there are complexes at work. Wheresoever complexes are found, history is present. You show up the way you show up, not because you have learned it yesterday. You show up the way you show up because of the history that you have. And if you can just identify where it's coming from, you'll be able to unhook that. Unhook that. Wheresoever history prevails over the present, we are stuck. Wheresoever we are stuck, there's a moral task. Wheresoever there's a moral task, we will be obliged to take on some quantum of anxiety. And if you just read this, you realize in one nutshell what James Hollis spoke about is exactly what Carl Jung spoke about. A coach's responsibility is to expand your perspective and to look at the things that you're not able to see yourself. And that's where Carl Jung says that unless you bring your unconscious to your conscious, it will continue to drive your life, and you will call it fate. And just to address that, Joseph Campbell, he said that the cave that you fear the most to enter holds the treasure that you have been seeking for. I'm sure all of you are here to expand your perspective and grow in your career. How would that happen unless you are willing to enter that cave? Because that cave holds the treasure that you have been seeking for. And a coach's responsibility is to help you get out of the stuckness that you are experiencing in your life. We all are stuck like this. And the ironical part is we don't even share that with other people, that, you know what, I'm stuck to an extent that I cry on daily basis alone. A friend of mine, his name is Jerry Colonna, another one of the guests that I had on the podcast. He said, Gaurav, don't be surprised when you ask people, how are you in a true sense? And don't be surprised if they just start to cry. I said, why would you say so? He said, you know what, when we go to conferences and meetings and we are meeting people who are strangers to us, we are always suited, booted. But deep down, behind this suit, there's a soul which is totally fractured and shattered and scared and fearful. When you ask that person, how are you, don't get surprised if they just start to cry, because they've been holding on to that pain for so long. They have not processed that pain for so long. And that's where it's important to bring in the leaders trifecta that I've been talking about. Now, what is trifecta?
Are you a mid-career leader who wants to earn 1 crore, or who wants to become a CTO, a CIO, a CDO, a CISO, a CFO, a CRO, or any other C-suite or CXO role? The road to the CXO is something that I know and I can teach you. So don't delay, click on the link below.
Trifecta is when you bring three things together that allow you to create something substantial. And in my experience of having coached so many leaders across different organizations, be it or people from artificial intelligence companies to people who are coming from PSUs as well, I've come across three kinds of primary challenges. One, people are not able to create an impact. A leader in a very simple language is, how would I define that? A leader is somebody who's able to inspire, influence, and create an impact. A fair, simple definition. Somebody who's been able to inspire the other person, somebody who's been able to influence the other person, and somebody who's able to create an impact. The three basic challenges in most of the organization is the lack of purpose and the minimal impact. I'm sure, what's the average age of people sitting here? Around 40? I'm sure at least once you've asked this question from yourself, क्या मैं अपनी जिंदगी में कर क्या रहा हूँ? Have you asked that question? क्या मतलब कर क्या रहा हूँ? 9 से 5 की जॉब कर रहा हूँ. Where is the alignment? And a part of you is actually searching for something which is more meaningful in your life. And because of that, what's happening is there's isolation and the lack of personal fulfillment. At the same time, you have teams which are disengaged, disoriented, and disconnected. So three basic challenges: isolation and lack of fulfillment within yourself, because of which we have got disconnected, disoriented, and disengaged team. And because of that, we are not been able to create the impact that is expected from us in an organization. Now, having said that, having spoken to so many leaders, both on my podcast and during one-on-one conversations, I've come to a realization that there are three basic things. If we can take care of that, life would not be the same. And that's what I call it, especially in the VUCA world and the AI world that we have been struggling with, right? The things are becoming more and more complicated. Things were better before COVID. Suddenly it has disrupted. Things were much better before AI. It's further disrupted. At the cost of writing an email a little faster, it has disturbed your mental peace. Because till yesteryear, the challenge was how to write an impactful mail. Yes, no? Now the challenge is, would I still survive in the corporate world? Now, which one is better? Given a choice to you, which stress would you want to take? That one or this one? Tell me. Of course, I'll learn English than to struggle if I would be working in the same organization tomorrow. And same thing is happening in the VUCA world. And that means the things are only getting complicated and complex. And that's what VUCA world is all about. It's all volatility. It's about uncertainty. It's about complexities and the ambiguity. Now, having said that, every time when you are looking at the AI world, of course you experience, shucks man, the world is changing, which is okay, but every time when I address that, I'm working with the CEO of an AI organization in Bangalore. I was talking to him, I said, Sunil, his name is Sunil, I'm working with Rakuten, we do some work with Rakuten, and I was talking to Sunil, and Sunil is a very dear friend. I said, Sunil, help me understand, what's the one question you get to hear from people when you address audience? He said, would I be able to survive? Is it going to hurt my job? I said, of course. I had another guest on my podcast. His name is Gaurav Singh. He runs an organization called, I've forgotten the name. He's there on my podcast. I was just talking to him, and he said, what's the mission that you are on to? He said, we are here to displace human beings in most of the call centers. That's the mission that he's working on. Just imagine what's going to happen to us. I was talking to Asif. I said, Asif, what are you working on? He said, I'm working on something which is related to AI. So I said, you are in the business of displacing human beings. He said, fortunately, unfortunately, yes. Now that's going to happen, right? Please don't get surprised that after 3 months you would have a pink slip in your hand because you are not at all required in the organization. And especially when we are in the business of customer care, when we are in the business of supply chain, when we are in the business of healthcare, go and read about AI. You will get to know that we are working on everything possible. Everything possible. As an organization, we are working on a product called Human Canvas that's going to replace coaches as well. Coaches as well. Now that's the complexity that we are talking about. But there are certain things which are timeless in nature that can never be challenged. For as long as the humanity is going to exist, the basic leaders trifecta is going to exist, and not only exist, but it's going to become even more important. We are stepping into the experience economy. Gone are the days of industrial and the agricultural and the information age. We are stepping into the experience economy where The kind of experiences that you create for your customers are going to make the most important shift for them. And that's going to determine if they are going to stay with you or not for a longer time. Because that's what is happening. And for as long as that's happening, let me share this conversation with you. Of course, not with Albert Einstein. I did not have a conversation with him. In one of the conferences that I was addressing in Bangalore, the conference was Leadership During AI Times. Leadership during AI times, what is expected? We had leaders who are working with AI organizations. We had people who are working with deep tech organization. And one of those conversations was really beautiful. There's this friend of mine, his name is Vishwesh. He's a geek when it comes to AI. I said, Vishwesh, what are you working on? He said, we are working on a platform where AI would be used in education as well. And this I'm talking about a year and a half back. I said, so what does that mean? He said, the system is going to ask a question from you, you're going to write it down, you're going to show it to the screen is going to read it, and it's going to tell you if you're right or wrong. Okay. I said, can you give me a demonstration? I said, of course, yes. What's one of the most popular equations that Einstein has given? The system asks. The person says, E is equal to mc square. The system says, you are correct. I said, this is so phenomenal. This could be used in coaching as well. This can actually bring transformation in the way we facilitate programs. So that means we don't have to go through the content in any programs. We just have to create experiences. Content could be taken care by artificial intelligence based on where you are in your life, and is going to customize it based on where you are, the kind of lessons that you learn. So you might want to go from here to the left-hand side. The other person might want to move to the next level. And the third person might want to go to a scale which is a little lower than that. That made me thinking the kind of world that we have been talking about. We are talking about the VUCA world and the AI world. If there's an equation that can see E is equal to mc square, what is that equation? What is E is equal to mc square for today's world? I was thinking I did not have an answer. What is E is equal to mc square for today's VUCA and AI world? I revisited most of my conversations with all those leaders on my podcast. That intrigued me, and that's where every time when I would speak to people, I said, tell me, what are those 3 important elements that will never go out of window? They're like timeless principles. What are those timeless principles that's not going to go anywhere in the world, irrespective of the shift that we are experiencing in this world, either today or tomorrow? So while going through all those people, I came to this realization, and I would love to share that with you. But before that, let's look at what leadership is and why are we even talking about leaders trifecta. What is that trifecta? A friend of mine, his name is Kirtika Reddy. Kirtika Reddy was the first managing director of India Facebook. I had the privilege of doing some work with her, and then she was there on my podcast as well. During one of those conversations, she spoke about Sheryl Sandberg and the definition that the way Sheryl defines leadership. It says leadership is about making others better as a result of your presence and making sure that the impact lasts in your absence as well. Isn't it so beautiful? Just revisit this definition and ask yourself, if you were to rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10, how effective a leader you are. On a scale of 1 to 10, 1 means marginal, 10 means really high. Where are you? How many people they continue with the change that they brought in when you were there with them? Or have they gotten back to their old ways of being, doing, and showing up in the world? Of course, in your presence, your children behave in a much better way. In your absence, that's the true test of your leadership. Didn't I tell you that all the principles that we're going to talk about, if you cannot apply it with your son, daughter, niece, or nephew, this hour is a waste of time. I would rather spend time with my daughter who's 5, her name is Neer, than to speak unnecessarily and give a sermon that I'm not going to apply for my own self. That's an invitation that everything that we are going to talk about, ensure that you apply that with your son, daughter, niece, or your nephew. And if not, this is the sheer waste of our time. Leadership is about making others better as a result of your presence and making sure that that impact lasts in your absence as well. Revisiting all those conversations, I came up with this timeless principles, and I call it leadership trifecta. And that gave the answer to the question that I asked, What is E is equal to MC square in today's VUCA world? The answer is I is equal to EC square. And I am talking about the impact. Whether be it impact on the people that you're talking about, or you're talking about the impact on your children, or on the customers, or on the business, or the society that you're a part of, or the community that you might be serving. At the end of the day, I told you, leadership is about inspiring influences and creating an impact. And if you're only inspiring and influencing without creating an impact, you'll be out of business. So creating an impact is extremely important, fundamental, and foundational. You cannot get away with this term called impact. The question is, ask yourself, what does impact mean to you? Yesterday, while listening to Mr. Arvind, the question was, what does success mean to you? If you permit, may I challenge you on this? May I? Stop asking people who you consider as successful that what does success mean to you? Because even if they give you the answer, it's not going to serve you. Rather, in that question, it's damaging both for you and the other person, because the moment you're asking a question, what does success mean to you, they're going to guide you in a direction that made them successful, so you'll be displaced. It's not going to serve them as well, because the moment the person is addressing that about success, it's a steroid for them. They will suddenly feel, I'm really successful. Ask them basic question, what's your relationship with your children? Ask them this question next time when you come across people who you believe are really successful. I loved what Arvind sir was talking about, because he spoke about, after that he spoke about the impact. That piece, I loved it. Outside he was having this conversation where he said that, good people should have a lot of money so that they can spread goodness in the world. That's what he spoke about. I just loved that conversation. If you really want to ask this question, what does success mean to you? Ask yourself this question. Pick up your pen, pick up your pencil, pick up your notepad, sit alone. For God's sake, do this homework for yourself and ask yourself this question. What does success mean to me? And don't get surprised that in case you don't get any answer. Sit again. Please don't get surprised if again also you don't get an answer. Then sit again, and then sit again, and then do that activity again. Some moment something is going to click, and you'll find an answer for yourself, and that's when you're going to let go of all those insecurities and the confusion and all those doubts that you have been holding on to. I'm on that path. Have I figured out anything in my life? My answer is no. I've been in the practice of coaching for 20 years almost. I've not figured out anything in my life. I'll rather find myself in a space where I'm more curious and confused and disturbed than to have that pseudo sense of clarity for myself. What is I is equal to EC squared? What is that timeless principle that if we stick to that is going to assist us to live a fulfilled life? Would you be successful? I really don't know. I don't know the definition for success for myself. How can I tell you? But one thing is for sure, that you would definitely live and lead a fulfilled life. Because these principles are not my own. It's like I brought in so many leaders who I consider as really living a fulfilled life, be it individuals like Guru Raj Deshpande, be it like Manoj Kohli, be it like Gauranga Prabhuji, be it like Paramveer Chakra, Yogendra Yadav, be it like IPS officer Vivek Srivastav. I had the blessing, I had the honor of sitting across the table with them and understand what life means to them. They never spoke about success, and interestingly. Impact is equal to the expression, connection, and contribution. So we are going to spend the next half an hour to talk about what is expression, what is connection, what is contribution. Now what I'm going to do is, I'm not going to go in detail of what is expression and what is connection, what is contribution. I'm going to give you some basic definition of expression, connection, and contribution. What I've come to a realization that when either one of them is getting compromised, what happens? You feel suffocated. When either your expression or your connection or your contribution is getting compromised, you feel suffocated in your life. So let's look at the definition of expression, and once you have all three, I'm going to run a little faster because the time, positive the time. When you have all of them, You have self-fulfillment, you've got authentic relationship, you've got personal growth, purpose and meaning and well-being and happiness. And I'm sure that's exactly what you're looking for. You want fulfillment in your life, you want well-being in your life, you would like to have personal growth in your life, you would like to have authentic relationship in your life. One of the longest study that has gone in the space of happiness says that one of the most important ingredients in one's life is not wealth, not money, but the quality of the relationships that you have. And that's the second part of it, the connection part of it. And I promise you, the definitions that I'm going to share with you is going to blow our understanding, it's going to expand our imagination, and definitely it's going to push us in a direction that we have not explored yet.
Hi, I'm Mudit Saxena. I'm a Global CXO leadership coach. I'm globally awarded. I'm a TEDx speaker. But you know what's most important? My students have become CEOs, CXOs. My students have got 100% increase in their salary. Some of them earn more than 1 crore. Some of them didn't have jobs and they found new jobs. I've been a CXO. I worked in 5 countries over the last 30 years. And I've impacted 10,000 lives across the world. My students have come from the US, Europe, Middle East, Africa, and Asia. The road to the CXO is something that I know and I can teach you. So I look forward to working with you, and if you're interested, just book a call with me in the link below.
The 3 drivers of a human beings are, as I mentioned, expression, connection, and contribution, interconnected to each other. One of them, when one of them gets compromised, you experience a sense of suffocation. Look at your life. Look at the organization that you're working with or the relationships that you have. If in a relationship, you experience that you don't have that expression, you're not seen, heard, or felt, and you're not given a space where you can just express yourself, you experience a sense of suffocation. If you don't feel that connection with your boss, with your team members, you experience a sense of suffocation. And the third thing, which is extremely important, you don't feel fulfilled. You don't feel fulfilled when you're not able to contribute. Now let me just share the simple definitions of expression. I'll just skip this. Let's look at this definition. It says expression is the authentic unveiling of one's vision, values, and voice, igniting a transformative connection that inspires collaborative growth and innovation. When I came across this definition, I was like, wow, I don't think that anyone has defined expression the way this has been defined here. It's the unveiling of one's vision, values, gifts that you have been blessed with. You don't have to become a chartered accountant because chartered accountants are paid really well. You could become a painter of A's category as well. You don't have to become a musician. You don't have to become a musician just because people appreciate a singer or a guitarist more than a mathematician. My nephew, he did his graduation and post-graduation from Oxford University. He was a topper there. Got a job with BCG. 14 days and 15th day he spoke to me. He said, Mamu, I'm not enjoying working with this consulting firm. I said, why would you leave that? The kind of package that they have offered you is phenomenal. I don't think that anyone in your family is earning the kind of money that you are earning. He was posted in London BCG. 14 days and he left his job. When I asked him, what do you want to do? He said, Mamu, I've realized that for as long as I've known myself, as a child, I used to love photography and making movies. Today, he's one of the most established documentary filmmaker in the world. But that became possible only when he was willing to tap into his core expression. Are you willing to tap into your core expression, unveiling of one's vision, one's values, and one's gifts? I've got few questions to ask you. You may want to quickly take this photograph and to reflect on that. Don't reflect alone, reflect with your children, with your son, daughter, niece, and your nephew. How do you currently express yourself in your daily life? Whether through your words, actions, creations, or interactions with others. The second question is, what forms of expression resonate with you the most? How do they align with your innate gifts and talents? I know you have got 10 skills that's helping you to make money. I know that. That's not even the question. The question is, are you aware of a gift which is so unique to you? And gift does not mean that you have to be an artist. or you have to be a dancer, or you have to be a musician. Nah. Do you know how to greet people really well? If you ask me, my gift is I know the art of asking questions. And my life revolves around that, despite the fact that I did my engineering and my management. I left that. The day I realized that my gift is asking questions. So what I do coaching and podcasting. I don't have to bring in my intelligence unnecessarily, not required. I would rather be fulfilled and happy and have genuine relationships than to do something that does not give me that sense of deepest possible happiness. I'll leave this slide. I'll come to this slide is really important. It says on the top right hand side, if you look at when you're able to express yourself and when you're received fully, you experience a sense of flow for yourself. That's top right corner. I'll give you a definition for connection. I promise you, whosoever you believe that you have got good connection with, measure yourself with this definition and you'll be challenged. It says it can be defined as a state of where the boundaries dissolve, fostering a profound sense of unity and lightness that transcends superficial differences that we have created between us. We have created differences between us, right? Speaker, audience, speaker. For what? I've never understood. Without even understanding that whatever I'm going to speak here is going to make sense or not, I was obliged and burdened with so many of applauses. For what? I'm a stranger to you. I'm no way saying that we should not celebrate, because whatever we celebrate, we promote that. The question is not whether you appreciated me or not. The question is, what are you celebrating at your home front with your son, daughter, niece, and nephew? What are you celebrating with your managers? What are you celebrating with your team members? Because it can be defined as a state where the boundaries dissolve, fostering a profound sense of unity and lightness that transcends superficial differences, creating a space for genuine intentions and understanding, conscious mutual growth, and shared experiences. Didn't I tell you that we have already entered the experience economy? The point is, what kind of experiences are you creating for yourself, for your team members, and for your family members is going to define the kind of connections that you have with them. Connection with yourself is going to manifest your relationship with others. I'm going to skip this as well. A question for you is to quickly check, where are you operating from in your life? Are you operating from a space of self-compassion and kindness and abundance and gratitude? Or are you operating from a space of fear and insecurity? Resentment and bitterness is going to define your relationship with others. Where are you operating from? I'll leave this, just one definition I'll give you, and then I'm going to stop. It has an element of upgrading someone's thought process and their perception of themselves, others, life, and the world. That's contribution for myself, for what I believe in. This slide, again, you can take a photograph, you can read whenever you want. I believe that contribution is the most important element here. For as much as we would like to make a contribution, it's not that easy, because we have to check where are we operating from just to prove a sense of worthiness for ourselves, or we really genuinely want to contribute in others' life. You already have this magazine, that's a gift from us. Do read this magazine. It has got some really good elements of what coaching is all about, what coaching can do, how you can become a coach. All these elements are there. That's a podcast you can scan. Would love to have you on the podcast. You can just scan it, subscribe it, and I would love to have you listen to this podcast. It has got some really amazing conversation that I've had. So you can just scan this, and I would love to have you on my channel, right? I'm going to stop it here. Thank you. Do let me know how best I could be of any sense of, if I could be of any assistance to you. I'll stop here, and I look forward to interacting with you. Thank you. Take care. Stay blessed.
Thank you, Gaurav Arora. I'd now like to call upon Dr. Mudit Saxena to come on the stage, and we'll do just two questions to do the Q&A before we head into the felicitation. We'll only take two questions for Gaurav.
When you say what is success means to you, suppose you end up with something like, you want to be financially independent as a goal for, success means to me. but what if it is correct or not? How do you, you know, weigh it against?
Yeah, that's a question. What would you weigh it against? The challenge with financial freedom, especially, and especially in the world that we are living in, where, just look at most of the advertisements that we have. It's all about crores and multi-crores. Now, the question is not what is success mean to you. The question is what is enough for you in financial freedom. Is 1 crore enough for you? Is 5 crore enough for you? Is 10 crore enough for you? That's a question that I ask myself. What is enough for me? Because there's no dearth of money that you can earn. A friend of mine, he has sold out his company for 400 crores. He's a year younger to me. I'm not in that business. I'll never be able to sell out my company, sell off my company at 400 crores. That's not the business that I'm into. But I can definitely tell you how many people that I have trained to become coaches. That's my measure. So you have to ask a question, what is my measure of success? A teacher of mine, his name is Rajesh Sethi, he tells me that, Gaurav, what happens is, we just look at one part of somebody else's life. Ask yourself this question, would you replace your whole life with the other person? And the chances are you will say no. Thank you so much, Prasad ji.
Thank you, Prasad. And last one.
Hey Gaurav, I've been following you. I've been listening to your podcasts. Some of them were really amazing. Love to have you here. My question is, you said something about diffusing ego while expanding perspective. The expanding perspective is totally something I understand. What about diffusing ego? Why?
Why? The load of ego is too heavy to carry. When you're running a marathon, would you go and run with your suit on? You know what? The marathon runners who win, they measure the weight of the shorts that they're wearing as well. Why? Because a single gram of extra weight that you have to carry for yourself is going to pull you down. And during one-on-one conversation, I would love to have this conversation. I would ask you a question, and that's going to make you think about everything that we do. Everything that we do. I'll tell you this. I come from a lower middle class family, most of us. And when I realize that there are so many things that I'm doing, which are not in alignment with who I am as an individual, that's not my expression. I'm doing it so that I can fit in a society, so that people can accept me. And when I realize that my overall way of being, showing and connecting with others moved to a very different level altogether. What is ego? Let's try and understand that ego is something that we have been holding on to either protect, survive, or cope in the world. A friend of mine, he's a nomadic coach. He says that apart from protecting, hunting, and surviving, there's another way to live a life, which is growth. And all these principles are the principles from nature. So you may choose to hunt, you may choose to protect, you may choose to survive and cope, or we may choose to grow. Choice is absolutely ours.
Do we?
Thank you.
Thank you, Gaurav, for that wonderful, deep, and insightful session. And hands together for Gaurav.
Decided to have a word art only for you.
This is so beautiful.
This is what symbolizes you.
Thank you.
Come, you take. Thank you.
Thank you.